Hey guys, episode 105 of the DGR podcast. Hope you're all well. I'm just going to do a very short one and talk about one topic today, which is why you should compare yourself to an Olympian. Emphasis on the word should, bold, underline, italics, should compare yourself to an Olympian. So a little bit of the background on this is I put up a post about Simone Biles last week, and obviously the Olympics is on right now, and I spoke about how she has a big anterior pelvic tilt, and she loves to go into a spinal extension and biases in that position, kind of rests in that position. And I said I was using that post to explain how this position in and of itself is not a bad thing. And I think that's an important message, because so much of the discourse out there is that anterior pelvic tilt is bad. If you look on Reddit, you look on YouTube, you look on people selling products, this is your anterior pelvic tilt fix. Use this product to fix your anterior pelvic tilt. You'll see people or hear of people going into clinics all over the world, and physios are telling them you have back pain because you have an anterior pelvic tilt, and so on and so forth. And then there was a few kind of response videos to my video, and people were saying the large part of the conversation was around, well, look, don't compare yourself to an Olympian. Don't compare normal people to an Olympian. And I want to kind of debunk a little bit of that, and I want to take the counterpoint to that. So one post from one person said that you shouldn't even bother talking about this, because Olympians and these athletes do not give a fuck about anterior tilts and flat feet and stuff. They don't even think about that. So why are you talking about that? It's disrespectful to even talk about that about athletes. And this couldn't be further from the truth. This is that type of conversation, that type of discourse, that athletes don't think about any of this stuff, that comes from people who don't work with athletes. I can promise you that. Athletes are just as paranoid about their bodies, often more paranoid about their bodies than the rest of us. They are Googling anterior pelvic tilt. They are Googling flat feet. They are talking to their physios and their coaches about this stuff. They are analyzing and comparing their bodies to their teammates and their competitors. They are on YouTube searching this stuff. They are on Instagram. They are messaging you on fake accounts on Instagram. They are on Reddit. I am telling you, they are. And I was shocked when not shocked, but I have worked with some really great athletes around the world, and I would say close to 80-90% of the time, they have complexes with their body, or things that they're hung up on, or things that they are semi-obsessed about, which is like something to do with flat feet, or a pelvic tilt, or my rib is poking out in this direction, or I don't look like my teammate that does this, this, and this. There's a famous NBA player that I worked with, not Chris Paul, before you think about that, but another one who just couldn't get past the fact that he had flat feet. He had knee pain and he had flat feet, and he had put those two things together. And I asked him, and he had spoken to this with so many therapists, and they were all saying, yeah, your flat feet are a problem, blah, blah, blah. And I said to him, go into the locker room in the NBA next time. Look at your teammates, look around the locker room, and tell me. And he also wasn't the best jumper, this guy. And I said, look at the most athletic guys. Pick the three most athletic guys, the guys that can jump the best in that locker room, and come back and tell me what their feet look like. And he came back and said, they all have flat feet, flatter feet than mine. And I said, exactly. And one of them might have knee pain, one of them might not. But your knee pain is nothing to do with just the shape of your foot and your lack of the fact that you can't jump as well as these guys. You thought you needed to make your arches into something different to be able to jump better. But actually, when you look around, what you see is the guys that can jump higher than you have flatter feet than you. So let's put the whole flat feet conversation aside, and let's talk about your knee pain, and maybe we can train your feet in different ways and get them moving. But you don't have knee pain because you have flatter feet, and we can only kind of move past and move into good stuff once we've dealt with that. And that was a big relief for him and helpful for him. And that's the same conversation that I've had with normal people, if you want to call them that. That's what some of these people were saying on posts. Normal people around the world that are coming into clinics thinking, I have knee pain because I have flatter feet. That's the same conversation. And I can promise you, if you work with athletes, you're having that conversation. I worked with an elite, a world-class sprinter who was obsessed with having a rib on one side that was a little bit more flared. Like, that's the same conversation that you're having in clinics all of the time. I'm telling you, and those are just two examples. I've worked with another world-class sprinter who has big anterior pelvic tilt, and this is not your back pain and this. There's not a direct correlation. Of course, we might do something with your pelvis and get your spine moving and change that scoliosis. Like, all of that is possible. I'm not saying that, and all of that is not that difficult to do. But you have to change the conversation around this equals this. And these athletes, to say that they don't give a fuck about this stuff, that's coming from someone who doesn't work with athletes. I can tell you that they're thinking about this stuff. They're obsessed with this stuff. They're Googling this stuff. And not just some of them. Those are just a couple of examples, not just some of them. The vast majority of athletes that I've worked with. Obviously, my population is a bit different because I'm working in rehab. Usually they have pain or injury. But guess what? Every athlete has pain or injury at some stage. So they will be thinking about this stuff. And even athletes, healthy athletes that I've worked with, which is also many, I'm telling you, they're looking for little small edges in performance, and they're thinking, am I not as fast because my foot is this shape, my pelvis, my knee, my spine, my shoulder, my whatever. Okay. So let's put the conversation to bed around why are we even talking about athletes in the Olympics that have anterior pelvic tilts? Because they don't give a fuck about that stuff. Yes, they do. I guarantee you they do. They think about it. The difference is they just get on with it. They train anyway. They don't let it stop them training. That's one of the reasons why you should compare yourself to an Olympian, because if you have one of these issues, it's not that issues is the wrong word. If you have one of these things, one of these postures or whatever, the problem isn't inherently that posture or that position. The problem more often is you are letting that get in the way of you moving and training and your mindset around it. So the difference there is that they don't let it stop them. They keep going instead. Sometimes it can hinder them because they're overthinking it, but that's the same with all of us. Another person said that it was irresponsible and dangerous to compare normal people to Olympians, because Olympians are so strong in these positions and they can control these positions and normal people can't. How the fuck do you think they learn to control these positions and get strong in these positions? By training in these positions, not by trying to fix their anterior pelvic tilts and get someone to tuck their pelvis and exhale and get their ribs down and never go in there. If you did that with any Olympian, I don't care about their genetics, you did that with any Olympian where you tell Simone Biles, never anterior tilt, always tuck your pelvis and keep your ribs down, then is she going to be as strong in extension and anterior pelvic tilt anymore? Is she going to have as much control in that position anymore? No. So you can't say that it's irresponsible and dangerous to compare people to Olympians because the Olympians are so strong in these positions. The reason they're strong in these positions is because they train in these positions. The reason your clients aren't strong in these positions is because you don't let them train in these positions. You tell them not to train in these positions. So that's a stupid argument. I understand, obviously, the point around don't compare them because they're not the same. But no one is telling someone. So, like, let's take an example. Someone comes in and they have flat feet. And they say, I have back pain, I have knee pain because I have flat feet. You do want to compare them to an Olympian in this case, because what's the point in comparing this person, this normal person, to Mary down the road? What's the point in saying, well, Mary also has flat feet and she doesn't have knee pain? Like, that can be helpful. But you know what's more helpful is saying, fucking Usain Bolt has flat feet. And look what he can do. So it's much more powerful for someone to compare them to the Olympian. Of course, you're not making the next step, which is the straw man argument, which people will make online, which is, oh, you're saying to Billy down the road here, okay, Billy comes in, I have flat feet, which means I have knee pain. I'm saying to him, sorry, let me add a step to that. Billy comes in, I have flat feet, I have knee pain, and I can't run because I have flat feet. You can then say, Usain Bolt has flat feet, and look at how he can run. I'm not making the next step, which is the strawman argument, which they'll make, which is, okay, does that mean that Billy, now you're comparing him to Usain Bolt and saying he's also going to be the fastest person in the world, or he can also sprint and train in the exact same way as Usain Bolt? No, that is not the comparison that we are making. We are just stripping away the idea that you having flat feet is the very thing that is stopping and hindering your life and stopping you from training at all. So in that regard, you definitely should compare your clients to an Olympian, because it's much more powerful. Also have flat. Hear them and show them firing so that it breaks down and thrashes that word that a certain posture or a certain position is the one and only stopping you from living the life the way you want. Show them someone that has a similar posture, similar whatever, and show them, look how this person, all of these magical things. I'm not saying that because you have this position, you are now the same as this person and you can also do these magical things. All I'm saying is it doesn't mean that you can't do the things that you want to do because you are in this position. So I think that's why you should compare yourself and your clients to Olympians and world-class athletes. You should show them that these postures aren't inherently wrong. Of course, we need to teach them to be strong there and control these positions and be able to move in and out of these positions. But the only way Olympians have done that is by training in these positions as well. So these training principles apply to quote unquote normal people as well. These are the same principles that will help normal people get strong there and control and move powerfully in these positions. They just won't, or we just won't move as strong or as controlled or as powerfully in these positions as Olympians. It doesn't mean we can't get stronger and more powerful and more controlled in these positions. So I hope that is helpful. Maybe not, maybe whatever, but I had to get that off my chest, and hopefully enjoyed the podcast, and I will chat to you guys next time.